Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is Jim Cahill. We're excited to introduce Freestyle Payments, our newest offering. We have a really good agenda for you today, some guests. So with us, we have James Plazek, and our special guest is Jennifer Sumi from Constellation Payments. James and Jennifer, why don't you say hello today?
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here and excited to show you this new service that we've been working on for over a year now. So glad everyone could make it.
Oh, thank you. I'm Jennifer Sumi. I'm glad to be here as well and present to all of you guys and get to have an opportunity to chat with you.
So before we jump into the webinar about Freestyle Payments and start talking about this great new offering, just want to make everyone aware about the upcoming office hours topics and sessions that we'll have throughout the year. We're planning a session with Authorized.net, and from the customers I've spoken with, will be a very popular webinar. Authorized.net will tell us about the improvements they plan to make, tell our audience about the kinds of services that they should be aware of, how to best combat threats, and really a whole host of useful information for today and what's going to happen in the future. We're also planning a session with Avalara to talk more about their service offering and how it can benefit our customers. We'll be scheduling a session about MOM version 12 and all the changes we've been making so far this year and plan to make. And as you can see, there's some exciting things happening with ACVM that we'll be talking about as well. And as always, we'll look forward to the upcoming busy season, invite Shippo back to give some best tips and practices to make shipping easy during the busy holiday season. And we'd like to ask your suggestions for the kinds of webinars that you'd like to hear during office hours. Feel free to contact us directly or to put some topics into the chat. We really do want to make this interactive and to be talking about the kind of topics that impact and help your business the most. And for the agenda, now that we finished with the introductions, we just want to give Jennifer a chance to introduce Constellation Payments, the kinds of services that they offer, and what makes them and the Freestyle Payments solution so unique and so beneficial to our customers. We'll talk next after that about the payments landscape and talk really specifically about how difficult it is for e-commerce businesses like yourselves to negotiate payments, to save money, to make more profit, and not have to pass so much of your hard-earned earnings back into the card brands. That's a very important topic for all of our customers. And for us here at Freestyle too, we pay to process credit cards too, and we use Constellation Payments. We'll talk about the service offering itself, the new product, Freestyle Payments. We'll talk about what you will have to do to be able to use Freestyle Payments. And lastly, we'll answer your questions about the product itself, anything at all about the payments landscape, and what you have to do. So Jennifer, why don't you tell us a little bit about Constellation Payments and the history and what makes your service offering so unique and how it benefits?
Sure. Thanks, Jim. So Constellation Payments was really it was a startup company, right, that we started up in 2012. So our history is that we were a registered ISO, which is an independent sales organization, or refer to Visa, MasterCard to the processors. And in December of 2020, we decided to actually journey out and register as a payment facilitator, or what we would call a PayFac. We were really a startup company within the Constellation software umbrella of companies to act as sort of like a payments arm for the Constellation software brand of companies. By becoming a PayFac, I think the benefit there to us was that we are now considered the processor instead of just a referrer entity. And so that's given us the control over things like underwriting, boarding, support, those kinds of things. It just gave us the ability to control those factors instead of leaving those services and things with the actual processor. And it also opened up the opportunity for us to work with a larger group of the Constellation software companies like Freestyle.
Hey, Jennifer, I think it's such an important distinction because all the folks on the call today with us on the webinar, they are pretty much assaulted on a daily basis by companies pitching payment services to them. And there's such a huge advantage in working with a PayFac like yourself You know,
Mhm.
I think you hit the highlights, but I just want to emphasize them. You know, the ease of process, the fact that you do so much more than just offer rates. I mean, it's about the services that you provide, and that really adds to the benefit to your customers and ours. And I
Yes.
just think it's so important. And you know, what's been the reaction from your existing customers as you made the switch from an ISO to a PayFac?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest pain points with a lot of the partners that we work with and their merchant customers is the support function, right? Because a lot of the time when you're dealing directly with the processor, your support goes to the processor. So you're calling into, a large sea of people that you may not have the ability to create like those personal relationships with. But I think one of the benefits that I've had from feedback from other partners and merchants is that the support and all of the boarding and all of those little facets, those touch points where we would be talking with you guys, you just have the one company to call. And we work in tandem with Freestyle, right? So we have a dedicated support team. I've got several customers and channel partners of ours that have been able to form like great relationships with individuals on our support team, which makes it just that much more personable.
So really, it's about less phone calls and getting answers faster, and ultimately customer satisfaction.
Correct. Absolutely. So it just creates an overall more positive customer experience.
I think it's so important because you know the business is going to take less time to manage and really focus on other parts of the business.
Note that yes, we have great commercials, right? So I think that we can offer things to your customers, but the more important piece of that is that you're not having to sacrifice a good customer support experience for that lower rate, for those savings.
Yeah, Jennifer, thank you so much. That I think that really puts things in perspective and helps start the conversation today.
Sure.
So about the payments landscape, you know, Jennifer, you and I and James talk about this so much. You know, there's a lot of talk in the marketplace about payments and what you can do, but the fact is that in an e-commerce business, you have to take credit cards. It's such a big important part. And you know, when you look at the fees and see that they keep rising without any real logical explanation, and how big a piece of the business it takes, I mean, that's so concerning. You know, and when you look at the landscape, what do you see?
Yeah, so obviously the card brands are a big portion of those fees that we're paying. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think especially for e-commerce businesses where you're taking transactions in a card not present environment, right? The fees can be pretty exorbitant. And like you kind of alluded to earlier, you guys are saturated with getting solicited for your business a lot, right? And so yeah, in the payments landscape, I would say and just so you guys all know, my background is in payments. I've been in payments for over 20 years. Been with Constellation Payments for just over 7 of those years. But yeah, the industry has changed quite a bit, right? There's been a huge shift over, I'd say, the last decade, where you're seeing a lot more business opportunity in the e-commerce space, whereas traditionally it might have been that in-person business experience before. But with that, obviously comes the risk of transactions. Um, and and when you're running an e-commerce business, you have sort of a need, or it's almost like a necessary evil to take credit cards because that's how you're gonna make money. So how you're gonna be able to sell and move product. Um, yeah, I definitely think that the e-commerce space is booming, Jim, in the payment space.
Absolutely right, Jennifer. And when you look at you know how the payments part of this runs, it's such an important part of business. I mean, clearly, if you're selling products, you want to get paid. I mean, that's a really basic thing that we all know. But the way in which payments are run and the way that the card brands and the banks run them, it just leads to confusion. And when I see statements that our customers have sent in over the past year or so that we've had this soft launch and got this whole engine up and running, the statements are also different. You but I think there's a common theme for them. They don't really make sense and they're confusing. So,
Mm-hmm.
looking at a statement and you're struggling to figure out what it is, and you're struggling to get to the end result of, why am I paying so much to process these cards? That's one thing we
Mm-hmm.
want to address and correct. And, that's why we enjoy working with your team so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And the common feedback that I get from merchants about statements over the years is that they're very complicated and very noisy, right? They have a lot of data on the actual statement. The statement can be pages and pages long, but you don't really understand what the fees are. Constellation Payments statements are simplified. They're usually 1 or 2 pages long. And there's not a lot of noise on them. So I think they're fairly simple and easy to read. So yeah, that's definitely one of the benefits I think by moving over to Constellation Payments and Freestyle Payments.
Yeah, and one of the things we wanted to address too is, we talked about fees, we talked about complexity, we talked about statements that are tough to read, but we want to put our merchants in a position so that, that they get paid quicker, that there's no delay in settlements. And, there's the chargeback fees and how you negotiate them are simpler. I know we've talked about, the fact that you're not going to get passed around when you call on the phone passed to communicate to Constellation Payments. You're going to be able to speak with familiar people who know you and your business. And the
Mhm.
resolution of all that is faster. But also it's about how merchants get paid and when they get paid. And that's an important part of this as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So that's the landscape.
Just to touch on a couple more things too, Jim, on the next slide. I did have a couple of statistics that I wanted to share with everybody. So this is just this screenshot right here with the operational highlights is from the Visa annual report for the fiscal year of 2023. So you'll see over year, just the Visa market share, you see $13 trillion in total volume. And it's growing every year, right? So it went to 14.1 in 2022 and then 14.8 in 2023. The payments space is just growing. It's just I think a natural trajectory, and it's grown significantly even since when I started in the business back in the late 90s. And the way that people make payments, right? How they use their credit card or their debit card, it just allowed Visa, Mastercard, Discover, and the payment space to grow exponentially. I think that there's the important statistic to here that it's expected that Gen Z's global share of retail spend is going to triple by the time we hit 2030, which is great, I think, for anyone who's doing any kind of business in an e-commerce space, because I think that Gen Z is more adaptable to making payments online than the older generations. So I would expect that the e-commerce boom would continue to grow.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely correct. And, dealing with Gen Z is very, very different than even millennials, and certainly different than dealing with, Gen X or baby boomers. The level of trust that Gen X has just natively in e-commerce transactions is far different. They've grown up with it. It seems perfectly natural to them. It's not a learned, or changed behavioral. It's
Right.
where they started from. And, being in a
Absolutely.
place where you have your payments engine set up correctly, the processing is working in the back end, just makes so much more sense. And with the rise in fees and the rise in total volume, it, it seems that the fees are taking an ever bigger bite out of the total volume. So
Hmm.
the volume is increasing, but the fees are also almost seems to be increasing at a faster pace than percentage wise, and would seem warranted.
Right.
Okay. Now that's interesting data, Jennifer. And if a merchant is not watching the money they're spending, as the payments industry grows, they could find some unpleasant surprises when they turn to settlements and they start to calculate exactly how big a bite of sales payments are taking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I really wanted to highlight with this statistic on the Visa thing specifically, right, is that you see the it's not billions, it's trillions of dollars that are being processed, right? And just on the Visa network. So that's not including MasterCard Discover, but that is going to grow. And in the e-commerce space specifically, I think that it's already been a boom in e-commerce, but I think that the market share for e-commerce transaction payment processing is going to just grow exponentially over the next 5, 10, 15 years.
Thank you, Jennifer. And let's start talking about Freestyle Payments and what it is and how it could benefit our merchants. So we talked about our partner, Constellation Payments, and as Jennifer indicated, it's part of the same corporate family that Freestyle is part of, a Constellation software. It is a unit, and I'm just paraphrasing what Jennifer said before, but it's a unit that was started to be able to take the collective buying power of the Constellation companies and their own customers, merchants like you, and put them in a position where they could get better leverage, better volume, and better bargaining power, negotiating power with card brands than they could on even with Freestyle merchants by themselves. So, what Constellation Payments brings in terms of being a PayFac, all the advantages of that, and the increased buying power is what we're talking about when we say Freestyle Payments is powered by Constellation Payments. And that's really a powerful message. And Jennifer, you just talk about the sales volume and processing that Constellation Payments has right now and how it's growing. And it's growing exponentially. So just talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Since we launched the PayFac we signed up as and registered as a PayFac at the end of 2020. We actually went live and launched the PayFac in late quarter 1, 2021. So at the end of March 2021. And we grew that volume to last year to process over 700 million. And on track for this year, we're trending to hit over $1 billion in sales volume. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the opportunity that is out there. And the more volume and transactions that we have, the better buying power we have with our sponsor bank, which is WorldPay. So yeah, absolutely brings a lot of value, and I think a lot of benefit to Freestyle and any of our other channel partners underneath the Constellation software umbrella.
And Jennifer, as you noted before, it's so different than dealing with just an ISO who's representing a smaller customer base and may have more limited buying power, negotiating power.
Yeah, and I think it's also, again, this is coupled with us registering as a PayFac. It gave us the control over being able to make decisions in the underwriting process, the boarding process, and the support process, right? The merchant support process. So I think it adds the value, but it just gave us the control over that, so we could create that value for you.
Yeah, and when you think of the two companies that are coming together to bring Freestyle Payments to the marketplace, you certainly bring, Jennifer, you and your team bring the expertise around payments, the payments industry, and the buying and negotiating power that is Constellation Payments. And the Freestyle team, brings the knowledge of MOM and SiteLink, the ability to make better connections, to make it more seamless, and to make it a true processing engine. And that combination, nobody knows payments and Freestyle and our products better than the Freestyle Payments team.
Yes, absolutely. And to your point, Jim, also, right, the partnership, when we registered as a PayFac and we took control of all of those things that I've been talking about, it also gave us the ability to create an easier sign-up process, create an easier onboarding process. A lot of the issues that we had when we were registered ISO was we didn't have any of the credit making decision, like the underwriting decisions. So that was all up to the processor, and they had the ability to say yes or no, even if we felt like the client was worth boarding. So I just think it's an easier process. We have more control, which just creates that benefit for you and your clients.
Yes, that is so on target. And James and Jennifer, just talk for a moment about the process, onboarding, how it all works, and how seamless it is.
Yeah, I could speak on the authorized.net portion of it, since many of our clients already have a authorized.net account created by Freestyle Payments. And as the slide states, it is seamless. We do all the changes in the back end. Normally, it takes within 24 hours to make those updates to set up the account for Constellation Payments and connect it to your existing authorized.net account. So it's pretty seamless.
Yep, and I'd say on the, setting up the merchant account side, I mean, from the time that you're signing up, I mean, we can usually have an account set up and turned around within a couple of days. So it's not taking weeks at a time to get an account approved with the processor. We've cut that boarding time down to 24 to 48 hours.
And guys, I think we've tried to take as many steps out of the onboarding process as we can. We have instruction sheets. We can get on the phone with customers as they onboard if they like, but it's meant to be as simple and as painless as possible, because we know that time is valuable, and we don't want just to spend a lot of time onboarding. We want to make it a quick process so that you can start saving money faster. And I think we've talked a lot about these other value points before. In addition to the easy sign up, how it's integrated with authorized.net and the Freestyle products, but also the simplified statements. And I know that we mentioned that, but I think that's so important. It's such a key. You shouldn't need an interpreter to figure out what you're paying. It should be very plain, should be very straightforward, and that's what we're trying to do for you. We want to make the statement simple and understandable, and without all the extra fees or confusion that other people have. So that's a key for us as well. Right? And Jennifer and James, just talk about the support. The fact that so much of the payments landscape is having to call several different people or several different organizations, to whom you're just a number. And how is our support different, and how is it easier to navigate?
Yeah, from the Freestyle end, typically whenever we have updates for authorized.net, there's two avenues the clients could take, which is speaking to a support rep or someone from finance. And as I mentioned, to make updates to existing authorized.net accounts are pretty straightforward. Creating new accounts take probably around 24 hours or less, depending on when we get that information back from the customers. But for payment processing, since it's such a vital component to any business, we try to turn it around as fast as possible.
Yeah, it's so important. Because James can tell you from personal experience that he will have to call helplines for on behalf of customers, and for other payment processors, and that's not a good experience, is it, James? I mean, you know that for a fact.
I'm not gonna throw any names, but the initials are F and D. So.
Yeah. And I'd say too, Jim, just from the merchant support, the Constellation Payment side of things, our teams collaborate pretty well as well. So if there's an inquiry or some kind of issue that's going on the merchant side of the house, it's not uncommon for someone at Freestyle, like a James, to reach out to someone like myself or someone like a manager on the support team to get something quickly resolved. So there is a collaboration or a collaborative effort between our companies to best support the merchant. And I think that that's what's just so valuable.
And what I really do like too, Jennifer, as you support Freestyle and other Constellation companies that have this common interest of helping, a large number of customers gain an easier process and better rates and save money, the lessons that you learn, serving other partners within the organization, unlike a bank or a processor that is, a bit further away, you can share lessons. You're not going to share names or anyone else, but you're in a position to take lessons learned with other partners and other merchants and be more helpful and learn how to navigate issues better. I think that's so important, because that's unusual, just because you're representing Constellation companies.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a number of unique things here, and that's one that you might not have thought of, but can be very, very valuable. And much like when we talk to Freestyle customers about their usage and experience with our products, we always say to them that what we learn with other customers in other industries can actually have a great benefit to you. And the same thing is true here. What you're learning with other merchants and other partners and other Constellation companies and their customers can really benefit Freestyle customers, and it gives you a lot more ideas and a lot more experience to draw on.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Okay. So, I mean, we've gone over a lot in terms of what the value proposition is. Anything else you want to mention, James or Jennifer?
But one of the things I do want to touch on is especially the bullet points that talks about lower fees and profit back to our customers and saving thousands. As Jim mentioned before, we initiated a soft launch for this service. And the process, not to get too into it because we're going to speak on it later in the presentation, but it's getting some statements to do an analysis. And from the hundreds of statements that we received, I could confidently and honestly say that we have beaten every price that's there. It a little bit of jargon talking about basis points, which Jennifer you'll cover later on, but we do a comparison and we propose this this pricing, showing you what you're currently paying and what you will pay with Freestyle Payments. And so far, we have beaten, not matched, but beaten every price.
Yeah, that's a great segue, James, to the next slide, which is just an announcement that we are doing a limited time sale statement promotional offer. So we're partnering with Freestyle to offer a statement promotion where you basically submit three of your processing statements to us, and then we'll give you a $50 e-gift card just to give us the statements. We'll do a rate analysis and put together a pricing proposal and then present an offer to you. If you sign up before the promotional period ends and activate your account, you'll get an additional $200 e-gift card. So that's just this announcement. I just wanted to launch that here and make that announcement. And then I believe, Jim, you guys have the flyer and the link that you guys can send out to anyone who's interested in doing the statement promotion.
Yeah, absolutely, Jennifer. And it's good to know that the savings start just when you provide statements. And that's really
Absolutely.
just start the process. But that's a real statement from Freestyle Payments team that we're serious about this and we do want to provide savings. And I know that it's not that initial $50 is not a lot of money to put in your pocket, but everything helps, and it's just a sign from us about what we want to do and the kinds of savings we want to provide. And getting a $200 bonus just to sign up also helps as well.
It does.
All right. So yeah, that's a good start for this, and I think it's a good kickoff for the introduction of Freestyle Payments. We've announced this broadly to our customers, and we've already gotten a tremendous amount of interest. There's quite a number of customers on the phone. We've had other customers contact us directly as a result of the start of this announcement and start to provide statements. So the movement to Freestyle Payments is well underway, and through the soft launch, we've added a select number of customers who are enjoying savings and have been for months now. So this is the formal kickoff, but the savings have already started for many customers, and it
Yes.
just goes on from here. So, James and Jennifer, just talk about the next steps. I think you start to preview this, but just start, telling our customers and our audience today about what they have to do and what the process looks like, and just how easy it is.
Sure thing. From the Freestyle end of things, all you need to do is just email us at fspayments@freestylesolutions.com. And as mentioned, we will need 3 statements. Now, Jennifer, do the statements need to be in consecutive order, or is there a preference on the type of statements your team will need to do an analysis on? Is it
Yeah,
first
I
first
yeah, I
order,
would
last
say
order?
yeah, I would say it's I mean, obviously you can send us any statements that you want to send us, but it's preferred that it's the last 3 months. So if you were to submit some today, we'd look for January, February, March statements of 2024.
Jennifer, if a customer wants to submit a statement that maybe encapsulates an entire year, that would be equally acceptable, right?
That would be very helpful. Yes, it helps us see an entire year's worth of processing volume instead of trying to make it like an educated guess. But yeah, we can absolutely work with 3 statements. The reason we ask for 3 statements is a lot of the time you might see fees for this month on the next month's statement. So we just like to make sure that we get all of the data that we possibly can to make the best analysis that we can.
Could a merchant provide statements, let's say 3 statements that cover a slow period and busy periods as well?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, because I think that, to your point that you just mentioned about, you know, understanding what a merchant's fee structure is like and what the total 12-month yearly volume is across the slow and busy periods helps you to represent a more accurate quote, or present a more accurate quote. Right? And that leaves no doubt as to what the savings will be. And how
Yes,
long,
absolutely.
sorry, Jennifer, how long does the process take? Is the analysis period very, very long, or is it a fairly quick turnaround?
I mean, we can usually turn them around real quick. The SLA that I've given, my sales team here is to turn around these statement analysis within 48 hours, but we've been getting them done usually within a day.
Okay, so it's a quick turnaround from the time
Mm-hmm.
that statements are provided to us till they're analyzed until the quote, the Freestyle Payments quote, is returned to the merchant for their own analysis and approval.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and then we talked about the actual sign-on period. That's a quick turnaround as well. So once all that has occurred, the statement's provided, analyzed, the merchant decides to sign on with Freestyle Payments. How long does the sign-up period take? The actual process of it.
Yeah, I mean, the sign up process is pretty easy. It's just a URL link that we give to you. It's basically like a secure web form. So you enter in all your information, create the account, and then it automatically gets placed into our boarding and underwriting queue. And then it's usually turned around within a day or 2.
All right. So the total time could be a week to 2 weeks time, depending upon how quickly the merchant provides the statements and then analyzes the quote.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple where we've done a statement analysis, obviously not from the promo, but like we've done a statement analysis. They agree to it. They like the pricing proposal. They go sign up later on that day. We get them underwritten, and then get everything sent over to the channel partner, and then they're processing the next day. So the turnaround time can be as short as a few days.
To sum it all up, the process that is designed to allow for a thorough analysis of the statements, a rapid return of the quote, give the merchant time to look at the quote, and then to make the process of onboarding easy. And the real goal here is to get all the merchants that want to participate in a position that they can realize savings as quickly as possible. So, and I think that really, really benefits the merchants. Folks online, it's time for questions. We've covered the main points of what Freestyle Payments is and quite a bit about what Constellation Payments is and the payments industry as well and where things are going. So please feel free to put your questions into the chat so we can start answering them. And there's one, question popped up fairly early in the presentation. I think it's a great one. And it just speaks to, how challenging it is for merchants to look at payments and to take a really positive action for them. And it talks about how how many calls that merchants get about from payment firms. And everyone, of course, says they're going to get lower rates. And we've tried to talk about, what makes us different. The fact that we're working with a sister division, very closely aligned within Constellation, that the fact that they are a PayFac and in a better position to offer rates and to control the process more. And our customer experience with customers during the soft launch has been very, very positive. And they have enjoyed a quote or received a quote that has lower rates and have signed on and been able to start enjoying savings. So the only thing I can say is we believe that we can provide a better experience, both a better experience and of course lower rates and to save you money. And as merchants, you know well that any money saved with payments and any ease that you get or an easier process, it has two effects. One is you're saving the money you save on processing payments and credit cards goes directly to the bottom line. And we believe that we can provide real evidence of that for you. All you have to do is send in the statements, enjoy the promotion that Jennifer mentioned, and then find yourself in a position to be able to start realizing the savings and add to your bottom line. But as far as the experience goes, that's harder to quantify. But Jennifer, I think you'll agree that having an easier process to navigate and getting answers faster does put time back in a merchant's pocket. And time is not cash, but it is something very valuable and perhaps even more valuable to the merchants. And I think that's an important experience. So the only way to prove that would be to send in statements and let us get quotes back to you. And James and Jennifer, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and to add to something I said earlier, as mentioned, it was a soft launch, and we try to make the process as straightforward as possible. One of the things that we began leveraging, and this group may already know what this is, but I'll lean a little bit more towards Jennifer to elaborate on that. But it's the effective rate and basis points. So the effective rate is essentially the percentage of your fees that you're paying, your merchant fees, out of your sales volume. So for every statement, you will see the total amount of volume and then the amount of charge of interchange fees, different types of fees that come up. But you add that up and you divide that by your volume, and that'll give you your effective rate. And depending on the industry that you're in, the effective rate could range, from 3% to 6%, depending on what you're selling. But that's how we look at it holistically: is this is your effective rate now. This is your effective rate if you come to Freestyle Payments. Did I capture that correctly, Jennifer? Or do you want to add towards that statement?
Yeah, no, you covered it really well. The only other thing I would mention is that the reason we use the effective rate is because a lot of times what you might harp on is the processing rate, but that doesn't encompass any other fees you might be paying. So the effective rate is effectively what you are paying, your total fees divided into your total volume to give you what you're effectively paying for fees based off of the monthly volume. So that's the only thing I would point out.
And can you elaborate on the terminology of basis points? Because it took me a while, but I think I got it right. But that's part of the proposal.
It is. So yeah, basis points is one basis point is basically just 0.01%, right? It's an accounting term that just is commonly used in our industry. So when we're talking about rates and fees, you'll often hear people reference to basis points. We can save you on your rate X number of basis points. And so I think, James, correct me if I'm wrong, but in any of the proposals that we're doing for your customers, we are including the new effective rate under the new fees that we're proposing, as well as the percentage of savings, correct?
Correct. And then we aggregate that information into annual savings. So
into an annualized number.
Provide our clients different views on the cost savings. So going back to the first question, as Jim mentioned, we need to analyze what you're currently paying, because not every merchant is the same. So you might have different rates based off of the volume, based off of the industry that you're in, based off of the market type. You know, retail versus e-commerce versus mail order. Those are different rates within Visa, MasterCard. Debit cards are cheaper than reward cards. So it's different ratios. That's the reason why I always lean towards the effective rate, is because it's a much simpler way to understand the overall fees that a customer's paying.
Yep, you've nailed that.
And just for our merchants, what we're trying to do is to position on our quotes the amount of money that you save each year, because while we're trying to get a sensible way to describe basis points and effective rates, really what matters most is the actual quote about how much money you're going to save. And we all hope that your business volume goes up, allowing you less time to focus on payments and more time to focus on your business. Hopefully will have a beneficial effect for your revenue. So if your revenue goes up, your savings, your actual savings increase as well. So we're trying to provide that very, very clear, concise answer to you when it says this is how much money you will save over the course of a year. And that's perhaps the best way to phrase it, I think. And Jennifer, as you look at the payments landscape, we have a clear and purposeful drive to lower our merchants, rates, and to save them more money. Is that the typical experience?
We do have good commercials with WorldPay, and we're able to pass those savings on to Freestyle and to your merchants. But the sales process is pretty much the same. I don't know if the experience is just that you're dealing with someone that you know, right? And then someone that you'll get to know. So that sales experience, the experience you get in the sales process, I think is different than if you were to go to, say, like one of the processors, where you might be dealing with an inside sales person that's on a sales team at the processor versus with someone that you might know, like for instance, someone at Freestyle.
Yeah. And I think the net effect for customers is going to be much more positive.
Right.
Okay. All right. Folks, any closing thoughts?
I mean, just for me, I'm really excited that you guys are making this introduction and this announcement. I'm excited to, offer the statement promotion, and hopefully we'll get to work with some of your customers.
Yes. And James, any closing thoughts for you?
For me, since I'm a 80s kid, I used to watch Reading Rainbow when I was very young. And there was always a statement that LeVar used to say. It's like, don't take my word for it, right? So in order for you to see the savings, please send these statements so we could do the analysis and let the numbers speak for themselves.
Yep. Best way to prove it. And for myself, I just echo what Jennifer and James said. We're really excited about the launch of Freestyle Payments. It really does help to complete the offering and the benefits that Freestyle as a company offers to our merchants, customers. Our intent is to offer great software solutions for you to make it easier to run your business, to be that system of record. And by extending this out to a very natural place, the payments, something that is at the heart of what our customers do, that just makes a whole lot of sense. And we think it's going to have a tremendous benefit for our customers. And who knows Freestyle products and payments better than the Freestyle Payments team? So it's unique, and we think it's going to be great for our merchants. And we're very excited about receiving statements, having our merchants take advantage of the promotion, and to be put in a position where you have an easy payments process. You have a great processing engine that saves you money and allows you to have it hopefully on autopilot and allows you to focus on your business. So that's our goal, and we're excited to bring that to you today. There'll be more about Freestyle Payments over the next few months, more informative office hour sessions. We mentioned that at the start of the webinar, the kinds of topics we'll be bringing to you this year, a mix of other partners, Authorize.net, Avalara, and information about seasonal products and seasonal preparations for your busiest part of the year. more information about improvements to MOM and ultimately SiteLink. So we have a lot coming this year. We're excited to bring all that to you. We'll keep you informed about the dates of the webinars, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. So folks, thank you very much. Appreciate your time today. We know you're busy, and we'll let you get back to the importance of running your business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.